my lovelies. Well, today I'm coming to you with a recipe that's near and dear to my heart, pizza. Who doesn't love pizza? But this pizza is going to be low carb, low sugar, because we're using almond meal for our crust. So stay tuned and try our ingredients today for the crust. You're going to use almond meal, and this is Kroger brand almond meal. And you're going to use 1 egg. Now, depending on how crispy you want it will determine how much almond meal you use. The more crispy you want it, the more almond meal. The less crispy, like bread-like, you would use less almond meal. Then we're going to have our mixing bowl and spoon, of course. And for our pizza sauce, we're using tomato paste. This is organic tomato paste by Kirkland. I got this from Costco. And then also for our herbs and our spices, we're using oregano and basil. We're using sage. We're using thyme. Okay, these are for the spices. Also, we're going to use a little sea salt and some Parmesan cheese. For the toppings, we're going to use Kraft fat-free mozzarella, Hormel turkey pepperoni, 70% fat-free. You're going to use, I'm using an onion, bell pepper, some mushroom, and some spinach. So that's the ingredients that we're going to use today. Let's mix the mash. What you're going to need for this recipe is almond meal. Now this right here is the Kroger brand almond meal, but you know Bob Mills has a great one, and there are other brands also. But today I'm using the Kroger brand almond meal, and it's for 1/4 of a cup. It's 160 calories. You have 6 total carbs, and 3 of them are fiber. So that's 3 net carbs, and then it has great healthy fats and some protein. So I'm going to go ahead and weigh this. Okay, turn my scale on, and that's 28 grams is a serving. I'm going to do 2 servings today. So it's going to be 56 grams. I made this pizza with just one serving of it, and it still turned out to be a nice personal pan pizza. So I said I wanted to expand it. So for our other dry ingredients, you're going to need, well, I'll use sage. I love sage. It brings more savory flavor. So I'm going to put the sage in, just sprinkle it. It's about 1/2 teaspoon. Also some basil. I'm going to use basil. This is fresh out I usually use like 1/2 teaspoon of all of my herbs and spices. This is oregano. This is going right into the crust. Okay. Also, you're going to need 1 egg. Okay. And then also in the crust, we're going to use some Parmesan cheese. Likewise, this is about 1/2 teaspoon. So we had our spices, some Parmesan cheese, and that's going to bring the flavor. So we got all of our dry ingredients in our crust beginning. Now what you're going to do is crack your egg, and you're going to just go ahead and put that egg, mix that egg in there. Just go on and mix it. Make sure you get all of that. See, it's good to put all of your dry ingredients in before the egg, so it can get, all of it can get combined in with the egg. And if you miss something, you can certainly go ahead and put it in after the fact. Now, what you do, that's it. that's the crust. Almond meal, egg, and your spices. Now, I do like to use a little sea salt, usually, in my, and we're just going to use some parchment paper. So what you do is line your parchment paper on your baking sheet here, and just splatter all of that on there before we spread it out. Now, don't be concerned that it's a little gooey and liquidy looking. You don't want it to be too liquidy. So just I even use 1 egg with just 1 serving of the almond meal, and it still doesn't come out just liquidy and not put together. But this should make it a little bit more crispier, or at least a little bit more harder. So you're just spreading this out. See on the paper? Just spread it out as wide as you can without having any gaps. Probably be best to use a spatula. So just going to be a little artistic here. And you want to have your oven preheated to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. And we're going to have that already on. So when we put our crust in, you leave that crust in for about 10 to 15 minutes, or until it's your desired texture, whether you like it softer like bread, or you want it to be like a crispier crust. It just depends on you. You take it out then, but just make sure the egg is completely done. Leave it in for at least 10 minutes. It's a little. You can use this also as a bread recipe. And all you would do is have to pop it in the microwave for about a minute after you mix everything up, and it turns into beautiful bread. So we're going to just make sure we're taking our time doing this. You definitely want to spray your parchment paper. Even though parchment paper is non-stick, I still spread, or just spread a little coconut oil or your favorite oil here on there, so you can takes a little time, but it's worth it. It's worth taking the time out and making sure it. Now, it may not be a perfect shape, but it's going to be yummy. Okay, so I think this is about what I'm going to get here. And if you want to eat pizza and you don't want all of the gluten in some of the crust, or you're on a low carb diet, this would be an ideal meal, ideal try for you without the guilt. Now you can prepare your vegetables, have them done, whatever you're going to put on your pizza. I'm going to be using some onions and bell pepper today. All right, so this here is how it turned out. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in the oven. It's a little dark. Put this in the oven. See, this is how it turned out. Put it in the oven for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then I'll catch you back when it's done. The crust out of the oven, and this is how it turned out. And as you can see, very nice and very firm, okay? And you can make it even more crispier. Now, if you want it to be a little bit more crispier, you can increase the amount of almond meal per 1 egg. I used 2 servings of almond meal, and it turned out pretty firm. So the more almond meal you use with that 1 egg, the more firm it will be. So we're going to go ahead and get started dressing up this beautiful low carb crust. So how I usually do it, this is the crust right here. And as you can see, that turned out very good. And you can just make sure it's brown and firm. And you can even make it even more brown. It's up to you. That's your personal preference. What I'm going to do now is begin to spread. This is only 2 tablespoons. And this, once you use this and you put water in it, this will actually give you a lot of sauce here. So we're putting the sauce here and you just spread it on. And I'm telling you, this has no, sugar like the canned tomato sauce. So you just go ahead and you spread that on. So this is how it looks when you spread it on. And what I like to do is I like to put my spinach on first because I love spinach. I really do. I put it in my smoothies and everything. But I don't really want to taste, I don't want that to be the first taste that I taste when I eat pizza. So I put my spinach on top of my sauce. And I have heated my turkey pepperoni, which I really don't use a lot of them, only because it has a lot of sodium in it. So I put my onions, mushroom, and this is going to be very filling. Onions, mushroom here. And what I do is I just kind of, well, no, we're not going to do that yet, because what we're going to do first, and I know that's a little, we're going to go ahead and when it comes to things like that have sodium, a lot of sauces or whatever, I usually weigh everything. So I'm going to turn my scale on, and a serving of this fat-free mozzarella is 28 grams. So I'm going to go ahead and measure out 28 grams of that, because I really don't need a lot of I love cheese, don't get me wrong. I love it, but I really don't want to use too much. So this 28 grams, which is a lot. You can use more, or you can use whatever you want, however much you want, okay? So we're going to grab this out of our bowl, and this is the pepper, and this is how it looks when you put the cheese on it. See, that's a lot of cheese. So now I'm just going to kind of break this apart, because I don't want to just have pepperoni in one area. I want my pepperoni to be all over my pizza. And look how that turned out. Delicious. Very good. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to kind of sprinkle some more Parmesan cheese on here. Not a lot. And then I'm going to use a little bit more basil. And then I'm going to pop this bad boy back in the oven for about 10 minutes. And I just gotta grab this camera and just let you see how this is a little bit of beautiful that turned out. Look how beautiful that turned out. Very nice. Alright, so now also if you have, and then when you're recording yourself, this is how it be. Also, if you have pineapples you want to put on it, go ahead, go crazy. make your own design with this, because this is your pizza and it will be delicious and nutritious. Okay, so I'm going to pop this in the oven for about 10 minutes and then I'll catch you back just to show you the final results. Bye-bye. Now remember, when you're cooking it, you want to cook your crust at about 375, but once you have all of your toppings on, it's a good idea to kind of turn up that heat to about 450 just to make sure all of the toppings are nice and melted. Okay, so this is how it turned out. Look how beautiful that is. So we're going to go ahead, and this is like something I should have grabbed with a spatula. Oh, yeah. Look at that pizza. Delicious looking. Just great. Now, what I'm going to do to finish this off, I have my sea salt here. And this is Han Pure Foods. And I got 1/4. But I'm not going to use 1/4. I'm just going to use about 1/8. Ew, that's more than 1/8. Because I really don't need a lot. Make sure I get the crust. I just like to taste the saltiness on top. Now, this is butter spray from Kroger. And I am a big component of not using too many chemicals myself. But I am using butter spray on my crust. And we're going to put a little bit more of that. Now, this is what we're going to do. Go ahead and... better if you have a pizza cutter. Ooh. We're just going to give this a little taste. And then I'm going to let you go so I can taste it. This is like, I love pizza. And I love to be able to control what I put in it. Let me just give this a little taste. Ooh, yeah. I'm just making it. My own homemade pizza. Try it out. This is, look at that. Ooh, the cheese just melting. Beautiful. Low carb, low sugar pizza. This is LaShonda signing out.